And we are live with David Frankle for another CEO Wisdom Pod. David is CEO at Nayak.ai, talks a lot about AI nowadays, talks a lot about sales, ChatGPT, and everything in between. He studied at Harvard. He's an advisor at a bunch of companies. Really excited to speak with him today. Oh, and he's also member of Techstars 23 batch. So that is quite exciting as well. Dave, welcome to the pod. Can you tell us a bit more about yourself and about your companies?
Yeah. So I'm David. I'm 27. I'm in Tulsa right now. That's where the Techstars program was. It ended a couple of weeks ago, but I stuck around here. So where should we begin? I got my start in sales at Harvard. I was selling ads in the college magazine, and just from that point, I kind of fell in love with it. It was, to me, about building relationships and helping people. And I also noticed that when I did sales and when I was on the phones and emails, it was easier to persuade people to do other things. You know, like in my friend group, it would sometimes come up like, what are we doing tonight? And when I was active in sales, I could suddenly like pitch my idea better, and it would be easier to get people to do the things that I wanted to do.
Right. And AI, what was your first touch with it, and how did you become obsessed with it?
Yeah. So back in like May of 2021, around that, I became aware of GPT-3. And at that point, it was in closed beta, and I applied several times to get access. Did not ever end up getting access, but then because I was so in tune with it, I guess I got notified or something when it was in open beta. So that was November 2021. And as soon as I got access to it, it was kind of like a part-time job. It was like 10 to 20 hours a week, just playing around with it, seeing what it was capable of, kind of testing its ability, not really any purpose in mind. I was just kind of, okay, this is a fun new thing. Let's see what it can do. So from November through like March or April, I was kind of working on ChatGPT or GPT-3. There was no ChatGPT, just figuring out what it was capable of.
Read many of your predictions on the topic of AI. And I like bringing spiciness to this podcast because most people recycle the same things most of the time. So I want to throw a couple of opinions here, and you let me know what you think about them.
Okay.
The first one is the melody of AI will enhance people. I feel that everyone will be entrepreneurs in 10 to 15 years from now. So the thing that, entrepreneurship is not for everyone, that's bullshit. And I think that one will disprove it. I'm 95% confident of that one. Still, I think there will be a second class of humans, which will be the maintained, quote unquote. So people that will be totally replaced by AI, especially in the virtual world. Physical world will be different, right? Because the physical world is tougher to navigate. And I feel that these AIs, they will do quite well in the online realm, which most of our economy is based today, if I am not mistaken, or will be growing at an incredible rate. So my question for you, do you believe in that rhetoric that AI will enhance us? Because I believe it's like AI will enhance the 1 to 10% of us.
I think AI is going to make things better. I think it depends on, a couple of different factors. I think one of them being like education, government intervention. And one thing I'm a strong believer in is universal basic income. So I think that, if governments implement those kinds of policies, and it becomes easier to do the things that you want to do as a person, and your health and livelihood and ability to put food on the table and get healthcare is not tied so much to your job. The more that's kind of already taken care of, I think that more people are going to just be able to have fun and experiment and build new things. So, it's, I think the technology will enable it. I don't know if the human institutions and systems that we have are, how those are going to interact with that. So it depends.
Yeah. Think, also just a caveat here. So the maintainers and the maintain, I don't have better terms for it. Today I might come up with more politically correct ones because these ones looks quite harsh. And it's not that one is better than the other. I want to clarify that. If you're maintain, I believe in UBI too, by the way, I am for it. I will do as much as I can to make it happen. I think the maintain will have a very awesome life. AI will make their life pretty awesome. Just that it will be like Ready Player One style-ish. Now, there's another set of reality to this, and it's that because I think that all humans need a purpose, although you can't give them a purpose in video games, but there could be a substrata here that would be these folks that get everything paid for them, but they work fully in the heart department, aka doing good in this world. I also think there would be a currency that is related to that the more good that you do, the more paid you are. And that can become a form of currency. What do you think about that?
Can you clarify what you mean by maintainers?
Maintainers are entrepreneurs, people that start businesses and love pain more than they love pleasure.
Got it. So you're picturing there's going to be some people that are entrepreneurs, and then what's the other set? You said there were two sets. So, well,
the first one is maintain, and that would be like Ready Player One people with like VR strapped to their face on a daily basis, either constantly watching porn or playing a video game. That is the dystopia, although it could sound like a utopia to many, right? Like, but my thesis is that, yeah, maybe some of them will take that helmet off and try to find like real purpose in this real world, quote unquote, and do work of the heart. While there would be like a more capitalist version, the maintainers, not the maintained, right? That would build stuff for the rest of the world and or stay in that capitalist system that we've somewhat maxed out.
Got it. So you're talking about this type of consumerist future where people maybe also you're envisioning UBI where when I talk about this, I say some people might just sit on the couch and watch TV, and you're taking it a step further of, okay, the entertainment is going to get more intricate, the entertainment is going to get more evolved, and people are just going to live their lives in this virtual world, right?
Yeah, let's call it realer than real life. As soon as you strap that helmet on, it's realer than real life.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I think the kind of thing you're talking about is actually a theme in some of the books I've read. So Infinite Jest or some of other David Foster Wallace's other things, where he was famously a TV addict, and Infinite Jest, there's this piece of entertainment that you can't look away from, so you just keep watching it, and you watch it for 10 days and then you die because you can't look away even to drink water or eat food, and this was written in 96 or something, so pretty prescient.
So the VR would actually like feed you and input vitamins in your system, by the way.
Yeah. Like, there's some sci-fi worlds that imagine this future. And I think that the level of engagement that you're talking about is not really going to be possible for the near future. I think it would need some sort of direct brain interface. And I know Elon Musk's working on the Neuralink, and I think that's really where this technology is going to become possible. Once it's in the brain and you can activate certain neurons and neural patterns and whatever, then it's going to feel very real, and it's going to be hard to step away from. I don't think the future is going to be people with the VR glasses and the VR suits and whatever. I think that's just not going to, whenever I've tried a VR goggle, like it's kind of hard to sit in for longer than like an hour. And so I think the way it's going to get that immersive is when there's the direct like brain interface, or when you bring some of the VR to the real world, like the, Star Trek, like holodeck. I think those are kind of the two possibilities where it's like you're actually engaging with matter in like some room or some, facility, or it's like you feel like you're engaging with matter through your, brain and the brain computer interface. So anyways,
Have you tried the Vision Pro?
I've not tried the Vision Pro.
I haven't too. I estimate it will be 1.75x better than Oculus, and Oculus was impressive. I think it's already there. That's what I'm saying here. And second, have you ever tried porn on VR?
No.
I did. I risked myself, which is really dangerous. And yeah, it's like next level. I've also interviewed like other folks that did, I'm not a promoter of porn, by the way. I think it's a plague for humanity, for relationships. I'm way more like for real world relationships, although I do love virtual interviews like this one. I grew up behind a screen, right? Like being top player at World of Warcraft, being top player at Call of Duty, and just making friends online I was friend with Torrent, and orcs. And that's why when people talk about, diversity nowadays, I'm like, yeah, okay. Have you ever played video games? It's like adults talking about kids topic, right? Anyway, okay, let's shift to sales because that's what you and I are into, and precisely sales AI. I'll tell you what I have and tell me like how you could improve my stack. So I've been a strong Apollo user. I'm partners with them. So they're a good tool, a bunch of contacts. I've been a student of copy since forever. I write one of the best copy in cold email, not because I think about it, but just looking at my reply rates, my open rate, and the results, right? I got you on this podcast most probably because of that. And I get minimum 20 meetings a day for the podcast, so much so that I need to hire people to do the interviews for me. The offer's there, the product market fit is there. We're going to talk about podcasting, you and I, a bit later, but I have this. I use other tools for my list. For example, Contact Out's pretty hot. They've got a nice offer. There's D7 for lists and so forth. For AI, Apollo deployed their AI feature. It's somewhat okay. And I also use a bunch of tools like Clay, like Google Sheets, GPT integrations directly in there, so I can like mass write messages. And I sent relevant emails to people. And I also have an assistant, and every time I tell her to do like custom campaigns, I treat it as a prompt, so I really try to be precise in my indications, and I tell her to also use GPT to do that at scale and really send some great outreach that is relevant. What is relevance? It's like Charles hooking up with David's API, it's like, what do we have in common? If we would picture a Venn diagram, what would be in the middle there, like the common value, the win-win. So with that in mind, how could Nayak, I was about to say Mayak, it's kayak sort of, which means hero for people listening to us, by the way, in Sanskrit. How could Nayak help me, and what would you add to this AI sales stack of mine?
So first of all, I think what you're selling is, kind of experiences and exposure. And I don't know if you do other sales other than the podcast, but I don't think Nayak would actually be that useful to you. I'm a big proponent of, honesty and not trying to use a hammer to hammer in a screw when a screwdriver is going to do better. So Nayak's meant for the longer sales cycle with kind of the higher budget, higher ticket items. So if it's something that you can close over an email or over one phone call, Nayak's probably not going to be that helpful. What Nayak does is it makes it easier for salespeople to act like experts. I think what we see that other people in the space don't see is that salespeople need some expertise. And that used to be through experience. You would stay at one job for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and you'd learn all the ins and outs and all the nuances and all the edge cases. And these days, people don't stay at one job for that long, and they kind of move around a little bit. And so instead of learning all the nuances and the edge cases, they leave before they gain that experience. Also, at the same time, the problems are getting more complicated. The problems themselves are getting more nuanced. I think people have this misconception of software that, SaaS and B2B software, it's kind of plug and play, and you can just enter your credit card in and start using it, which sometimes is how it works. But I think most of the time there's going to be some custom configuration. You're going to need some custom integrations and custom partnerships. Well, what about my data over here? How is it going to be compliant? It's going to take some custom work, especially if you're paying, $25,000 plus. You expect a little bit of like white glove, custom work, customization. So all of this being put together, the salespeople don't have the knowledge, experience, tools to act like experts. So that's where Nayak comes in. Nayak helps salespeople with the information at the right time. So it helps them find, you were talking earlier about relevance. It helps them find the most relevant information at the right time to share with the prospect. And this is, a replacement of, or, in lieu of the, deep knowledge of the space and the market and the product and the problems that salespeople would previously have gotten just through years of work and experience.
Right. Okay. Just for context, also, I have a cold email agency, podcast agency, a mastermind, but yeah, no like highly complex sales. Thank God for that. I don't ever think I want to touch this. I don't think it scales, big enterprise. I mean, they're cool as logos to have, but dealing with them is mostly a pain. I don't think that can, with my objectives, right? I want to a $1 trillion empire. And I don't think that this is doable by selling to enterprises that will actually compete with me later on. Anyway, the stack that I described you, how could I make my emails more personalized? What tools do you use nowadays, or techniques or prompts that could have me generate better results with my campaigns?
So I actually wrote a book on this topic. It's an ebook, the AI's Game Changer for Sales Enablement. It's on Kindle for 99 cents or for free on the Nayak.ai website. And there's one chapter in this where I talk about how I use ChatGPT and different prompting techniques. And, so I think you've got all of the right tools for your objectives. One I might want to throw in there is it's called BleedGraph. So it's maybe a little bit better targeting functionality than Apollo. They're one of Apollo's data sources. So I think Apollo has probably several data sources, but one of them is through this company called DiffBot, and they have a kind of an Apollo lookalike called BleedGraph. And you can target people based on their skills, for instance, or based on what technologies a company uses, and just some more highly particular targeting than I think you get with Apollo. I've used both. Nice. So I think that's one of the only things that you're missing, but there are some techniques that, I would recommend. One of them being like prompt chaining. I'm sure you're aware of all these prompt chaining using.
Well, go deeper on that. Maybe the audience isn't.
Sure. Yeah. So prompt chaining is like just keeping a list of prompts in the same chat with, for instance, ChatGPT, so that it keeps the context and it can kind of build on itself. So one prompt might be, here's my persona, here's what I know about them, talk to me about some of the pains that they have. And then it would give an answer, and then you could say, okay, now put this into a table and put the pains in one column and put the potential solutions given my product in the other column. And this all kind of feeds on itself, and now you have the custom instructions in ChatGPT, so that comes into play too. But it's basically like giving it the information it needs to help you progressively more and more with more and more specifics.
Thank you for that. Tell me about your Cheesecake Factory adventure.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite sales experiences, actually. So what happened was it was the end of my senior year in college, and a couple of friends and I wanted to do a road trip across the country. we kind of planned a route, and we had, looked at what we would need to make it happen. And then one of my friends said, you know what, I don't really have any money to put into this. Not even like $2,000. Like, I need to save up. I'm moving to LA. So instead of doing what normal people would do in that situation, find a cheaper activity or do something else, my friends and I thought, well, what if we got a company to sponsor the road trip? So we pulled together a list of chain restaurants, chain hotels, and we put together a list of marketing contacts at those companies. And we wrote a fairly powerful cold email. I think we actually got, out of 380 companies, we got interviews with like 30 of them. And then several of those turned into a second or third round conversation with some more people. And we got 2 contracts. And the offer was basically, we want to do a road trip. We have some experience with marketing and video production and writing, and we will give you some marketing materials if you fund our road trip. And so a couple of companies were interested, and we ended up getting 2 contracts, and we chose the Cheesecake Factory. And then we had 1 month to go down from Boston to North Carolina, to Chicago, to Minneapolis, down to Iowa, Nebraska, through Salt Lake City, Las Vegas, and finally in LA. So it was 16 stops, and we took 1 month to do it. It was fantastic. It was a really amazing time.
So I have a bunch of questions for you. I'd love to do a cycling trip from Mexico to Montreal.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty long distance. I would need Airbnb to sponsor me. I would need Chipotle, or a chain that is like in every city, or micro cities, to sponsor me, right? Because I'd stop there and eat. I need Specialized to sponsor me. And I might do it, I might do another one of these, but like on foot, right? I don't want to deal with the headaches of convincing someone to sponsor me. I know I'm going to be big from an audience perspective.
Yeah.
And I'd just love, to get all of these and have to zero worry about money or logistical issues once I do it.
Yeah.
I would ask them just for like a gift card, and obviously I wouldn't abuse our promo code, or maybe that would be Uber Eats, who knows? So I can have like all these boxes checked, right? How would you recommend that I start?
Yeah, so I would treat it like any B2B cold outreach campaign. So you're going to want to identify your persona. I'd suggest marketing or PR or sales. You'd want to put together your offer. I can share the cold email I use for the Cheesecake Factory with you if you're interested. And basically just I would say, well, I run this podcast, and my followers are X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to be recording on the way, and here's what I estimate your reach to be, and here's some creative ideas on how I can help promote you, and then basically put that into like a short email. I wouldn't even use a sequence. This is the kind of thing where they see it and they respond, or they don't. And I don't think going 4 steps deep is really going to add any value. And then, maybe in the meantime, reach out to your audience. If anybody works at these places or has connections, like see if they can help you. One thing you might want to be cautious of is if you actually do get one of these sponsorship deals, they might have something in there about exclusivity. That's something that we ran into. So when we signed with the Cheesecake Factory, we could not also use sponsorship from even non-competing brands. We were thinking about trying to do like a rental car sponsorship or a hotel sponsorship, and they said, no, you're doing this for us. This is the focus. This is the priority. So it depends on like the level of sponsorship you want. If you want one company to pay for the whole thing, or if you want, you're talking about a handful of gift cards, like maybe that would be possible, but just something to keep in mind.
Right. If they want exclusivity, then they can pay for everything, right? So let's call it 150 bucks a day and might take me like 2 months. That's not a lot, actually. That's like 9K. It's like super good. It's quite easy,
good
right?
company, that's nothing, right?
Yeah, there you go. Okay, and want to finish up by asking about Techstar. How's been your experience? You recommend it, and what insights you got from there?
Yeah, so the Techstars is absolutely an experience. I recommend it. You definitely get the value out of, they take some equity, they give you some money. But the thing that I found most valuable was just being kind of in the trenches with other founders dealing with similar stuff at the same time. And just, it feels like we kind of went through like a boot camp together. Like there's this, bond now. Like I'd help any of them, and we still have like a WhatsApp chat going, and we're helping each other out, and it's clear we're going to maintain these connections for a lifetime. And then there's the mentors and advisors that you get exposure to. Techstars has a fantastic network, and one of the other things that I really got out of it was just some advice and training on how to fundraise and how to get customers. So customers and capital were kind of the two themes of the whole program, and certainly learned a lot. It was very intense. There were, most of the time I would finish the day, I was in the office, and I would come home and not really have energy to do anything except for watch TV and play video games. But that's, it was worth it. So it was 13 weeks of intense work, and now I have that network and those connections and those learnings for the rest of my life.
There you go. Where can people find out more about you, Dave?
Yeah, so on the company's website, it's www.nayak.ai, or on LinkedIn. It's just, my name. I don't think there's anything special in the URL or anything. So David Frankle, Frankle.
There you go. And I am Charles Cormier, your host of CEOwisdompodcast.com. If you want to start, scale, be invited to podcast, that is botbuyer.com.